Hello, nerds. Thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is the Week in Nerddom, your twice weekly source for nerd news headlines, though this week we're only getting today's episode because I was out of town at the end of last week into the beginning of this week, so I was unable to film that. More on that after the intro. So, real quick update on the channel. I did not do an Adventures in Photography episode while I was in Arizona. Just was there with family. It didn't seem appropriate. I did film some stuff, but that is for family purposes only. Pretty sentimental stuff. But yeah, anyway, so no new Adventures in Photography to announce yet. I am still working on the Denver Comic-Con stuff. Denver Pop Culture Con, if you will. But that is the news for the channel. Let's jump into the news, and we're going to start things off with music. We actually have a couple of things in music, and only one of them is dealing directly with heavy music, which is kind of interesting. First on the list, we were talking about Ed Sheeran, who generally I don't talk about on the show. I don't dislike Ed Sheeran necessarily, just not my first choice when it comes to pop music. However, it sounds like his new record that he's planning on putting out, entitled Number 6, more Number 6 Collaborations, I guess is the official title of the album, is going to be something I very likely am going to pick up because of he actually released 2 singles. I just don't know who the collaboration was with the other one. But this song that we're talking about is called Blow, and it is featuring not one, but 2 pretty huge collaborations, guest artists, I guess you should say, and they're from very different genres. Well, Bruno Mars is the first, is not a different genre than Ed Sheeran necessarily, but the other is Chris Stapleton. Those are very, very big names to be guesting on a song. And actually, if you follow the link in the description, you can go listen to the song yourself. It's really not bad, and not exactly what I would expect from any of these 3 artists. I mean, there is definitely the pop element, but there's also something of a rockin' element there, and no real hint of country. Kind of structure-wise, there's a country echo, but by and large, this is a pop rock song, not just a straight pop song, or a country song really at all. So definitely interesting thing. Go listen to it. Let's talk about it down in the comments. Moving on. Next, we're talking about freaking Miley Cyrus. No, we're not talking about the new song that she just released. At least not directly. The Mother's Daughter. That's the politics and things. We're just avoiding that like the plague. However, if you watched Black Mirror, which again, I meant to do a review for Black Mirror, the new Black Mirror season, and it just didn't happen. So much is going on and things and stuff. I just didn't have the time, and I apologize. I am working on a Spider-Man review, though, for the Instagram, so go follow Instagram at Generally Nerdy, and you can get all of the reviews, because that is the platform that they're going in. However, we are not talking about Black Mirror necessarily. We're talking about Miley Cyrus's song, On a Roll, in Black Mirror. Now, I'm almost 100% certain she had nothing to do with the writing of this song, because the basis of this song is 9 Inch Nails' Head Like a Hole. So it's very interesting in that 9 Inch Nails approved this to be a thing, but also that this song is charting pretty close to evenly with Miley's new song. It's the Mother's Daughter song that we're not going to talk about. So very interesting that her take on a 9 Inch Nails tune is just very, I don't know, I really hope Trent Reznor is getting a lot of kickback. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, next on the list, we're talking about Blink-182, who actually, with the release of their most recent record, California, I am kind of liking them again. Like, I dug them. Everything up until about Dude Ranch was pretty good. I'm not the biggest on the pop punk stuff, but that was kind of the standard bearer for the genre, and then they kind of went a little off the deep end with Enema of the State and everything going forward from there. But now that they're Tom DeLonge less, they seem to be listenable again, and they have released a new record, or they released a new song rather, because they are releasing a new record. You can find a link to the song down in the description. It's really not bad. Anytime that Mark Hoppus is singing, I'm down. I really can get behind, because they're not making any... he doesn't sing through his nose, which is a big thing for me, but also they're not making any excuses for the fact that they're just bubblegum punk. They are the definition of that softer version of the genre. So very interesting. What do you think? Let's talk about it down let's talk about it down in the comments. And then our last piece has to do with Korn. They also released a new song since we have done the last Week in Nerddom episode. It was like literally after I posted the last video, they released a new song. It is called You'll Never Find Me, and you can find a link to the visualization video, I think is what they call it, down in the description. And Korn honestly hasn't done anything that's lit a fire under my ass since Untouchables, really, and that was even just barely only kind of sort of match fire. Like, not much was there that was really exciting, but there were one or two moments on that record that excited me. That's why it was the last record of theirs that I bought. This one, if this is an indication, is definitely a step up from where they've been for the last 5 to 8 years or so, or 3 records approximately, but it still isn't doing anything for me. And yeah, we're just going to keep on going. Jumping into TV news. TV news is a short one. We have two updates for TV news. First up, we have Legion. This next episode, so not this week because they didn't have an episode this week, but next week's episode is our first introduction to Noah Hawley's version of Professor Xavier. Noah Hawley being obviously the showrunner, the guy who is doing the show, and I'm super excited about this. Like, episode 3 of the final season is giving us Professor X. There is a trailer out, so you can go watch that, but that is the only piece of news for this. Just super excited about Professor X. Next for TV news is an update for the Amazon Lord of the Rings series. They have just found their director for the first 2 episodes in John Antonio Bayona, who goes by J.A. Bayona. You might recognize that name because he is the director of the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom movie. He's done a few others before that, but that was his first big budget movie. This appears to be his next big budget project, and the fact that they're announcing him as the director of the first 2 episodes kind of leads me to believe, and this is totally conjecture, but it kind of leads me to believe that the first 2 episodes are going to play like one long episode. No announcement yet as to the length of each episode or anything like that, but as more updates happen, we will be talking about them right here on the show. Now, let's jump into movie news, and our first piece of movie news is a quickie bit about the live-action Lion King we're about to get from Disney. Jon Favreau's version of the movie, live-action, quote-unquote, CG, more like. This version of the movie clocks in at 118 minutes, so just shy of 2 hours, which is about 30 minutes longer than the animated version. So the animated version was right about 90 minutes, which is what you would expect out of a children's film from the 90s, from really any decade up till recently. And now we're adding an extra 30 minutes. So let the rumor mill start running as to what exactly exists in those 30 extra minutes. Very likely there will be the addition of another song. We've kind of heard rumblings about that, but what else are they going to do to the movie? Like we saw in Aladdin, they added a bunch of additional Jasmine pieces. Do you think maybe they're going to be adding some Nala information? Because Nala was kind of a Jasmine-y kind of situation. She didn't really further the story as much as maybe she should have to be a fully rounded character, being effectively Simba's equal. So there's a lot to conjecture about right here, so let that fuel the conversation for the comment section. Next, we're staying in the Disney vein, the live-action re-adaptation of their IPs. We just got the announcement, and the internet is exploding with this, but we just got the announcement that Halle Bailey, not Halle Berry, like I read it the first 3 times I read this story, Halle Bailey, who you may or may not know as being from Grownish, which is the Blackish spin-off series. The internet has been losing its collective mind over the fact that Bailey has been cast. I want you to sound off in the comments section. What do you think about this? I haven't seen any of the stuff that she's been in, so I have no idea the caliber of actress she is, but I am interested to see, so I don't know. Let's just move on, I guess. Next up is a very interesting piece that Deadline is reporting for the Flash movie. That's right, the Ezra Miller Flash movie is still in the works. We've talked about it a number of times on the show. Now it looks like Warner Brothers might be bringing in Andy. I'm gonna have to pronounce this name a couple of times. Andy Muschietti, the guy who directed the new It movies 2 years ago, the first chapter 1, and then this year's chapter 2. That guy is being reportedly brought in for the director's job on The Flash with Ezra Miller. No word as to whether or not they are going to be sticking with the script that Ezra Miller claims to have written, but the fact that they have a director and a lead definitely means things are moving forward at a pretty healthy pace. And our final movie update for this episode is Pokemon. We are getting a new anime Pokemon movie, probably in 2020, according to Nintendo. Comicbook.com was at AnimeCon this past week, and they are reporting that Nintendo has made the official announcement that 2020 is going to be the time that we get a new animated Pokemon movie. Sounds like the movie is gearing towards a theatrical release, and a preview was shown at the convention. So I was unable to view it myself. I haven't been able to dig that deeply in this story just yet, but it is super exciting. More anime, and reportedly in that trailer, we get our first taste of this iteration of Pikachu, which has kind of been the flagship Pokemon for the series since its inception back in the original Game Boy days. So yeah, definitely exciting news for Pokemon fans right there. Now let's talk gaming real quick. We only have one piece of gaming news. It is from Cyberpunk 2077. CD Projekt Red made a statement last week saying that they have 3 teams working on Cyberpunk 2077, and a lot of people interpreted that to mean there are going to be 3 Cyberpunk games. They have since come out, just within the last couple of days, saying, no, you misunderstood. We have a bunch of teams in CD Projekt Red. 3 of those teams are working on this one project. It is only going to be one game. Do not let the rumors confuse you. Cyberpunk 2077 is a single game, not a trilogy of games. And then that brings us to our last area of news, and that is comic books. And first up in comic books is a question that I posit to you. The question is, what does the future of the X-Men hold now that Emma Frost, spoiler alert, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now that Emma Frost has erased mankind's memory of mutants, she didn't erase mutants. This isn't another House of M episode. This is, though, Emma Frost using Cerebro to remove mutants from the memories of mankind. So mutants still exist, mutants still have their memories, but the rest of the world does not know the word mutant, does not know mutants exist. How does this change? I'm really interested to see how this all plays into House of X and Factors of X and all that jazz. Just super exciting things are finally happening over in Marvel, so maybe we're going to start picking up some Marvel books again. And then our last piece has to do with The Walking Dead. I know, we already talked about the fact that, well, no, we didn't talk about the fact. So, Weekend Nerddom did not cover the fact that The Walking Dead abruptly, without warning, came to an end last week. Robert Kirkman said that he, as a fan, doesn't like to hear or doesn't like to know when a series is going to end, so he wanted to surprise all of his readers because that is the most cathartic way that he feels it should end. He even went so far as to write fake synopses and stuff, and there's even cover art for books coming out in the months to come that just aren't going to happen. So, with that ending, the issue 193 is the final book for The Walking Dead. That does not necessarily mean the show is going to be ending. That also kind of leaves a bunch of stuff open, and one of the biggest things that it leaves open is the outcome of what happened to Negan. Well, Kirkman in the last couple of days also has come out to say that Negan lives. And that's kind of how he left it. Just very cryptically, Negan is alive. Does that mean that will be a spin-off series that we're going to see from The Walking Dead? I honestly think that there's no way Kirkman is going to not capitalize on the popularity, especially now that he's created this crazy buzz. I honestly don't know if IDW would let him not capitalize on it. But that, guys, is the end of the episode. Thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This has been your week in nerddom. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next episode? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper into the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. Jump over to the Patreon if you want to support more directly, patreon.com/generallynerdy. Everything is linked down in the description. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you like the episode, you know what to do. And before we do all of the things, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.